All right, today we're going to demystify a really powerful tool that can totally transform how your organization thinks about its impact. We're going to break down something called the theory of change. I know it sounds a little complex, but it's actually an incredibly practical way to map out your own success.
So let's start with a challenge I'm sure you faced. You're busy every day, you're doing amazing work, and you have this huge, ambitious mission you're working towards. But connecting that daily grind to that grand vision, well, sometimes it can feel a little fuzzy, right?
Yeah, I like to call this the A to Z problem. You've got your day-to-day activities over here at point A, and your final world-changing goal way over there at point Z. But that giant space in between, that can feel like a total black box. Not just to your funders, but hey, sometimes even to your own team.
So the big question is, how do you actually map out that missing middle? How do you tell a clear, compelling story about your impact? How do you show, step by step, that what you're doing at point A logically leads to the change you want to see at point Z? And that is where the theory of change comes in. Now, seriously, don't let the name intimidate you. At its heart, it's just a roadmap. It's a blueprint that connects your daily work directly to your long-term mission. And it makes that invisible path, well, visible to everyone. Okay, so let's dive in. Here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with what a theory of change actually is. Then we'll break down its key parts, look at how you can visualize it, really get into why it matters so much, and then wrap up with how you can tell your own impact story. All right, first things first. Let's just get a really simple, clear handle on what we're actually talking about here. What is a theory of change, really? Think of it this way. In our work, we all have these ideas in our heads about how we're going to achieve our goals. A theory of change is just the process of getting those ideas out of our heads and down on paper. It spells out the logic, the causal links between what you do and what you hope to achieve. It makes everything explicit, and because of that, it makes it testable. So how do you actually build one of these things? Let's break this big idea down into its simple, essential building blocks. It all starts at the end. Yep, you heard that right. You start by looking at your point Z, that big, long-term, beneficial change you want to see in the world. This is the ultimate why behind everything you do. Now, these are the crucial steps that fill in that big gap between A and Z. They're the changes your project can directly influence. Things like people gaining new skills, changing their attitudes, or adopting new behaviors. Honestly, this is where the magic really happens. And here we are, back at point A. This is the actual work, the stuff that's completely within your control. We're talking workshops, counseling sessions, providing services, running campaigns. This is the what you do. Okay, now this is absolutely critical. Assumptions are all the things that have to be true for your plan to actually work. Like, you might assume that if you provide training, people will be motivated to use those new skills. Calling these out is key, because let's be honest, unexamined assumptions are probably the biggest reason why even the best-intentioned plans can fail. And check this out. This is a perfect illustration of how those pieces come together. So look at this example for a supported housing project. Down at the bottom, you have the activities, right? Providing secure housing, training. Those lead to these intermediate outcomes, like higher aspirations and better life skills. And the final goal at the top? Helping ex-offenders lead independent lives. See how it tells a whole logical story? So, let's talk about how you can actually visualize this strategy. Because a theory of change isn't just a list of ideas, it's a visual tool. And there are a few different ways you can draw your roadmap, from super simple to a little more complex. You can start with something like the CES planning triangle, which is basically what we just saw. It's a really clean, straightforward way to map out those three core elements. Activities at the bottom, outcomes in the middle, and your final goal right at the top. It's a perfect tool for just getting started. Now, if you need to add a bit more detail, you might move to a logic model. This format lets you add things like your inputs, so your staff, your funding, all the resources that go into the project. It gives a much fuller picture of what it takes to make the change happen. And finally, if you really want to get granular about causality, there's the outcomes chain. This model is all about the arrows. It maps out the specific how and why of the change process, showing exactly how one outcome is expected to spark the next one. So after all that work, what's the real payoff? Why should you even bother creating one of these? Well, the benefits go way beyond just having a neat diagram to stick in a report.
A clear theory of change is just a killer communication tool. It helps everyone, from funders to new volunteers, get your goals in a snap. It makes partnerships stronger by clarifying who does what, and it gives you a solid foundation for actually measuring your impact. But, here's a surprising benefit. It can be a massive morale booster for your own team because it makes that connection between their daily work and the mission they care so much about crystal clear.
And let's be real, this is a big one. As this quote points out, having a clear and compelling plan gives funders and supporters confidence. It shows them that you haven't just hoped for impact, you've actually built a credible, well-reasoned strategy to achieve it. Okay, let's bring this all together and talk about how you can use this to tell your own impact story. Probably the most important thing to remember is that this isn't some one-time exercise you do, file away, and then forget about. Your theory of change is a living document. It's a dynamic tool that should change and evolve as you learn what works, what doesn't, and how you can get even better. So, I'll leave you with this. By mapping out that journey from your daily activities all the way to your ultimate goal, you can do way more than just manage a project. You can tell the story of your impact with clarity, with confidence, and with real power. So, what story are you going to tell?